Alright, well, hello and welcome to the second installment of my series on using Flex for conlanging. I have here open my Pyode project. Pyode is my oldest and most developed conlang, as you can see. What I think I'm going to do in this video is at least kind of do a general overview of the features and everything that's available. And then maybe I'll come back here to where we already are, kind of the default page for the lexicon, and go into a little bit more detail about the features there. As much as I know, I'm still learning a lot as well, so I can't say that I know everything. Normally, when you first open a Flex file, you'll be taken automatically to this lexicon edit page. And you can see here, that's where I am. It's kind of highlighted. I don't know how well you can see that, but it is highlighted. So to do a general overview, obviously you've got a pretty typical menu options, things like that for the main menu. Those are always going to be the same no matter what other page you are in. File gives you several options. You kind of saw some of that in my last post about importing your lexicon, but obviously you can start a new project, open one. Project management is useful to know. You can change properties, back up the project, restore one, project locations and sharing. If you're computer savvy at all, you can probably figure that out pretty easily. The send receive, this only works if you have your account connected to some of these other websites and servers, and I think some of them are only available if you are an SIL member, so that may not apply to you. I obviously don't have this project connected to that at the moment, but it's just another way to back up your project, or to share it with other users if you were doing some kind of collaborative thing. But again, I'm not sure how much of that is available if you are not an SIL member. Okay, edit, basic things. The find lexical entry is there, but of course you can also do Control F. View gives you some of the same options we're going to go over in a minute, which are also lexicon, text and words, grammar, notebook, list, etc. All of those are down here as well. Data, yeah, first, next, last. And then insert, this will be different depending on what you're clicking on and what page you're in. But for a new entry, for example, you can go here and enter it. Or, easier, you can click Control E. And hopefully I'll show you a little bit more about that. And then of course these we'll get into as well with more detailed idea of the lexicon. Format, you can set up writing systems, especially if you have if you're doing a conlang based on that uses another script. I have not found a way, well actually there is a way, but I think that would be another subject for another video. But if you have your own script, you could potentially use that, and maybe I will show you how to do that on another video. I don't have it set up that way right now, but it is possible, and some of the words do have the regular script there. That's the format. Let's click on that and just see, if you were using, for example, Russian or Chinese, you can see that, or any version of the Arabic alphabet, you have those options. You can actually use them. I don't know all those alphabets, so I don't know how those would interface with your keyboard, but presumably you can just use the Windows keyboard if you're using Windows, or whatever the equivalent is if you're using a Mac. Tools, configure, yeah, I think I would have to go into these individually to really explain them. The columns one is pretty useful, and I may show you how to do that as well. But again, there's kind of some redundancy here. There's a lot of different ways to manage the different columns that are showing. And just for your information, what I mean by that is, like, here we have citation form, pronunciations, glosses, grammatical info. We can actually add other columns to this main window or take some away. And you can do that obviously with the configure option, but notice here that icon right there is also right here, and that's probably the easier, quicker way to do it. You can merge with an entry if you end up having a word that has two separate definitions and they're in different places in your lexicon. You can actually just merge them. Spelling. Utilities, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but again, maybe we can get into that in more detail. Let's see. Yeah, well, it kind of tells you what all the different options are and has some pretty detailed information about them. I think I have seen this before, but I'm still not entirely sure how to use it, so you're welcome to play with that if Flex is something you want to use. And then options gives you user interface language. There's probably a way to change that when you set up the project, I'm guessing. Plugins, privacy, updates, all of these things. So no big deal. Window, you can open a new window. Just, it's the same project, but it opens it in a new window. And help has lots of things. I do want to note that there are a lot of good, a lot of the help stuff is pretty good, especially if you're completely brand new to Flex and have no idea how to do it. So really, what I'm showing you, some of that you could get from the demo movies, for example, but that's only if you actually download Flex, although I think you might be able to just see them on SIL's website as well. And I'm not exactly sure what all of these are, but as you can see, that's your basic menu options, and I figure most of you are probably smart enough to figure that out, and if you're not, I'd be happy to help you, or anyone who knows about this stuff would be happy to help you. Alright, so let's look at the broad strokes. That's the basic menu bar, and then you have over here the different areas you can go into and manage in Flex. So where we're at now is the actual lexicon itself, which I have citation form, pronunciations, glosses, and the grammatical info in terms of what part of speech it is, or in this case it's an affix, and I can even say that it's a qualitative affix, which again I'll go into all of that either later on in this video or in another one. So the lexicon is just for entering and managing individual words and the types of words they are. You can notice morph type, in this case it's a stem. There are some different options because this actually is a compound, so it wouldn't be the root. You can change it to root. But it depends on what you want to do. You can note whether the word is compound or not, or if it's a phrase and other things. I'll show all of this in more detail. You can connect it, since this is a compound, I've connected it to the component words which are there, and I can click on each of those. I think I have to press control click maybe? Yeah, and then it'll take me to that entry, which is kind of useful. And you can put the pronunciation forms. Typing an IPA is kind of a whole nother issue that warrants its own video perhaps, but there it is. You can put information about tone, location. I'm not entirely sure what that's about. I'll have to explore that with you sometime later. And then of course you have senses, and you can do more than one sense, seabird or albatross. The literal meaning here is seabird, so it could potentially refer to any type of seabird. But I actually used this word in my translation of Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner for albatross. And then you have variants. That's another option. You can do allomorphs. You can more detailed information about the grammatical information. Show it as a sub-entry. Lots of options that are really useful here. And of course, this is where you want to be if you want to add a new word, which you can do by the insert, as I showed you, or this icon here, create a new lexical entry. Or you can simply type Control E and it will bring it up here. And so if I wanted to make up a word, I'm just going to type in something. That's kind of a random word that doesn't really exist in Paiode, and I could say it means stupid or something, which really wouldn't make sense for Paiode, but that's a whole nother thing. And then I can choose what part of speech it is, and all of that. You can actually change the parts of speech that are available depending on what your language has at its disposal or not. And that's done with the list column over here in the bottom left. But we'll probably get to that as well. And then I would hit create and it would do a new word. But I'm not going to do that because this word does not exist in Paiode. I just wanted to show you. So that, I think, covers the basics of the lexicon. The next one we want to look at is text and words. This one is great because you can, that was for a entry in the Conlangs, but for example, I have this poem in Paiode, and you can see you can have it glossed, and you have gloss, and then you can also have analyze, where you actually have some more detailed information. But to start out, you have the information, and so it could be the title, any abbreviations, sources, if it's a translation or not. So I have, for example, maybe the Lord's Prayer. Oh, I don't have that as a translation, but I should. It is a translation. So there you can see just some various things here. What's one of my longer ones? That might be useful to see. Okay, so here's the information. This is not a translation, so I'm not going to click that. But the baseline, this is where you actually enter whatever it is, or if you have it already written, you can copy and paste to here. So there it is, and then in the gloss, you can analyze those individual words, at least to what does the word mean and what category it is. And then in the analyze, you can break it up into components, put the IPA, the pronunciation in there, all kinds of things. But this is really useful for doing glosses really easy. And if you wanted to share those glosses, say on the Conlangs group or Constructed Languages groups on Facebook or any other conlanging forum, you can go to the print view, which will give you something like this. Maybe I should do one that's more thoroughly worked out. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. So there you have it. That's what text and words is really useful for, and you can also use it to add to your lexicon. So for example, if you type something in the baseline and you have a word that you haven't added to your lexicon yet, as you go into the glossing and analyzing, that information goes to your lexicon, which is really useful. This tagging thing, I'm not entirely sure what that's about. It's just another, it's similar to the gloss thing, it uses the same things, but I'm not sure what they mean by that. So you have the print view, and then the text chart. This is interesting because you can use it for kind of discourse, syntactic things. And I think I did this with one word, or with one of my things, but one of my poems are text, but I don't remember how to do it all. we did use this also in my discourse analysis class that I took last year. So let's see, you can set up different things. The default here is sentence initial. That's what we've got here, and that's what this says. So I could make that, yeah, homea would be a sentence initial thing. It's kind of a discourse heavy thing, so I think we'll probably, I'll have to do another video about that. But it's good for you to know at this point that that's an option. To you can even get into analyzing the syntactic structures and things like that. Though, depending on your language, you might want to change these categories, which I believe can also be done by the list. But that's how the text and words work. Oh, to add another text, just like in the lexicon, you can click on this item here, add a new text, and you'll see that, and then now I could start adding a new text. You can also do that with Control-E. I'm going to delete this one because it's not really there. No, are there others that aren't there? Oh, that's actually, that shouldn't be there. Huh. Okay. Well, anyway, that is the text and words, and it's really useful, especially for glossing pretty quickly and easily. Grammar is interesting because you can actually do a lot of stuff about the grammar. So if you click on this category edit page, you see these would be nouns, and then you can have affix templates. So I have these quantitative affixes, prefixes specifically, in Pyode, and qualitative ones as well. And you can actually enter in that grammatical information and link it to your lexicon as well. I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if I would have to find a specific example where I've done that, but so then I also have suffixes here, and how they're shown. Now this was interesting because the way Pyode works, I had to kind of make it my own because there are basically two inflections, which I call the nominal inflection and the verbal inflection, which is essentially, nominal inflection is essentially a genitive form, but I define it as, well, I've written it here. It indicates that the noun is related to other nouns. Its precise relationship specified by the suffixes here. So a standard genitive sense, such as possessive or attributive, would be this es suffix attached to the noun stems. But the way that it works is the stems themselves actually change. So what I have here is that a vowel and a consonant, the consonant needs to be voiced, or voiceless rather, and that's going to give you the genitive. But in the plural, that same consonant is still going to be voiceless, but it's going to be fricative. I wish I could show you an example right here, but I can't. But anyway, the point is you have some flexibility in how to define some of that grammar stuff. And again, I'll have to show you in more detail how to do that some other time. Forgive me for getting a little excited about my own Conlang. But there you go, you have ordinal numbers, all kinds of things, affix slots, all this stuff you can manipulate and to specify your own grammar. If you're doing more of an a posteriori language, or one that I usually try to make my grammars as different as I possibly can, keeping in mind that anadu happens no matter what you try to do, but that's what I try to do, so I had to kind of customize this for Pyode. But if you're using a language that has more kind of standard suffixes for different cases and things like that, it's already here in Flex, and you shouldn't have to do too much. So that's grammar, and again I'll show you that in more detail some other time. Alright, the notebook. This is not so much for the language, but for cultural stuff. So you can see here I have this entry on the gods and goddesses. And, well, actually I don't seem to have very much under there. What's one that I do have a lot of text in? Yeah. So here's nations of my con world. And you can change the type of analysis, the type of record it is, a date of event. It's assuming, of course, that you are actually an anthropologist. Ooh, sorry about those dogs barking in the background. Maybe I can edit that out. But this is assuming that you're doing like an anthropological analysis of a culture and language that you're actually working with out on the field, because that's what Flex is designed for. But we as conlangers, conworlders, whatever we happen to be, more as conworlders in this case, we can use it for our advantage. I usually use this stuff blank because it doesn't do us much good. Researchers, if this is a world you're creating, obviously you're the researcher. But in the discussion part, I've put the actual text, which I also have in Word files and things like that. So I just copied and pasted them over. And these are just the different countries that I have in my conworld, or at least on the main continent. And I did some different information about them. Then you have car games, and you can, when I showed you when I was talking about, in my last blog post, importing a lexicon, there's this anthropological categories or outline of cultural materials, I think it's called, and that gives you links to these things automatically. So in this case I have funerals, and you can connect it to all these anthropological categories: burial practices and funerals, blood, special burial practices, prayers and chants, etc., death. And that's a fun one if you want to explore that. You've got, this is the list that comes automatically if you said yes to that option, and you've got all kinds of things here. Project variables, so you can click on that. You could say yes, it's that, or it's not. General culture and change, I feel like most of these, yeah, that's what I was going to say. There are drop-down menus, so you can be more or less specific as the case may be. So it's pretty interesting and helpful, and kind of helps organize some of your cultural information if you're interested in doing that. But that's what the notebook is for, more for the cultural aspects. And then you have the list, and these lists are different for different things. So here I have the anthropological categories. Now the nice thing about this is I can move things if I want to, but I can also add and delete things if they don't necessarily apply, I believe. Promote, move up, move down, insert. So yeah, I can insert an anthropological category. It's going to give me this, and then I'd have to give it a name and all of that, but it's kind of cool that you can do that. Now I hope I can delete it. Uh-oh. Oh yeah, there it was, down at the bottom. And it's a similar process for the grammar for adding things. But the anthropological categories is one list. Complex form types, is it a compound, a contraction, a derivative, idiom, phrasal verb, saying. Some of these, the competence levels, education levels, I'm not entirely sure about. I guess it, again, is more for field work type things if you're interviewing people, how competent you are, their education levels, feature types, you have noun agreement, pronoun agreement, maybe. They recommend that you only change this after discussing it with a consultant, so yeah, don't change that, except that you're conlangers, so you can do whatever the heck you want. Alright, you have genres and things like that that are part of the list. Lexical relations, Yeah, this is stuff you can do in your lexicon too that I didn't get into because I haven't done it very much. You can add a list of locations. This is, again, is more for fieldwork stuff. If where did you interview people and things like that. But morpheme types. So there you go. Root, stem, all these things. So you have a lot of different lists, and it keeps going. Variant types, text chart markers. So a lot of the stuff that's here in Flex you can change and manipulate to suit you however you like. Using these lists most of the time. And you can make your own list as well if that proves necessary for whatever reason. But yeah. So one nice thing about Flex is that it does give you a lot of flexibility. No pun intended. But of course it can be kind of a labor intensive to do all of that, and it might not be necessary depending on the extent of your project. I'm going to go back to the lexicon part here. I think I'm going to pause what I've recorded so far, check the length, make sure all of that is working, is alright, and then I'll come back to you.